I'm gonna start with a little story. I'm not gonna like, we don't have that time. I'm not gonna go back into like my past and shit and like explaining about the company, that kind of stuff that you can find online. The story I want to talk about is one night in Gothenburg in Sweden, and it was basically the summer. So me and the rest of the crew are visiting Gothenburg. It's like my hometown in Sweden, kinda. Fucking love that place. And then it's like the last time that we're going there before we leave Sweden forever to start like the company for good, start Social Prime, traveling the world, doing the programs and all that shit. And it doesn't quite work out, right? I've spent like 5 nights sleepless, partying. I'm sick at this point, and we're going out to this club. It's called Lounges, one of my favorite clubs there, and I just don't feel it. I'm so fucking tired. I have like 39 fever. I had to take like a painkiller or something for the fever. And I'm there with my friends, and everyone is having like an insanely nice time. Everyone is like jumping up and down, like dancing like crazy, talking to girls, shit like that. And I'm just like so much in my head. And I'm really, really trying hard to push myself into the same state as them. I'm really trying hard to like be in that like playful, nice state. And what happens is I'm just trying more and more and more. I try to dance. I try to talk to girls. I'm getting like instantly blowout. Internally, I feel like fucking shit. And in my head, I'm like, why the fuck doesn't it work? Why the fuck doesn't it work? Because through my past in game, I had like kind of like identified myself with that like very playful, positive guy, like very high energy, running around the club, doing the crazy shit. That was basically my first year in game. It was like all like this. It was like super flashy shit. If you saw like, if I had infield from that time, you would think that the thing that the RSD instructors do on the videos was nothing compared to that. And that was like all my game up to this point. And then I'm in the club and I'm like feeling like shit. And I'm just trying so hard to pump up myself back into that state. I have identified so much with like that type of game. I'm like, this is me, this is me, this is how my game is, this is how I'm supposed to be, this is how I should act. And it just doesn't fucking work. And at some point in the night, it's kind of late, it's kind of like, it's almost 3. I'm getting like really fed up with that shit. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Just fuck it. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna like give up. It's okay. I'm not gonna pull it down. I'm gonna go home alone. It's okay. I'm gonna sit on the couch or something, or just like hang around with my friends and just wait for this like torturous night to end. And I've like just kind of accepted that state. I mean, I'm like 5 minutes into that, like completely given up. And then Niels, the other coach in Social Prime, just wants to fuck with me. We're in the smoking area, and there's like some pretty hot MILF, like kind of cute. She's like standing behind me, and then Niels like taps her on the shoulder, and she turns and she looks at me. And I look at her and I get the eye contact, and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll do it. So I'm like, hey, what's your name? She's talking with some guy. She's like standing on a table talking with some guy. And I don't even know what the guy looks like. I never looked at him. I just like do like this. And I get him to do, I'm like, yeah, what's your name? Yeah, I'm Chris. And I'm like super grumpy. I'm super like, I look pissed. Internally, I want to like punch someone. I want to punch a wall or some shit. But I just like decide to like roll with it. And like nothing comes in my head. I'm just like a grumpy fuck. So I'm like asking like very basic shit. What are you doing here? What are you doing later? Kind of like go straight for the logistics. I'm not even in the mood to be social. I'm not even in the mood to like get to know her. Just like straight for the logistics. And I'm like in that fucking grumpy mood, but I have like that fucking intense eye contact. And she looks at me, and I can see that she's attracted, right? And we talk for like less than 10 minutes, and then I'm like towards the end of the interaction, I'm like, what do you think about we grab a drink at my place now? And then she's like, okay. And I get like a bit stuck for a second. I'm like, what? What happened? Oh, okay. Arm. And I go to the garderobe. I take the jackets, get in a taxi. We actually go to her place. She pays for everything. She pays the cab, like almost 50 euro cab, because she lived in like some suburb of Gothenburg, like really far. Go to her place, and within 10 minutes we're fucking, all right? And in that night, I had like that huge realization. Because I've heard that like a lot of times in the past. I've heard like, oh, embrace your state, whatever, But at that moment, it finally hits me so hard that I actually don't need to be in that like persona all the time. I actually can be like a grumpy, asshole, pissed, like annoying fuck, and still like pull and still have like a good night in the end of the night, a good time in the end of the night, right? And that's kind of like where that like concept of honesty started coming in place in terms of like the concepts that we teach, in terms of like when we coach students. This is when I started like processing the idea and like forming it in my mind. And I realized, oh shit, wait a minute, I'm actually being completely honest. I'm not trying, and I mean completely honest in the whole spectrum of the communications, because like you guys might hear honest and you think, oh, it's about the things that I say, right? But the human communications are very wide spectrum. So you have a lot of things. You have verbals, you have eye contact, you have your body posture, you have your facial expressions, you have your voice tonality. It's so many little things. So many little things. And the problem with men, especially the men in the pickup community, is that they focus so much on the verbal part. They just hear the words. And they fail to recognize the rest of the communications, the rest of the messages that the girl is giving them through the rest of the spectrum, right? And that's what I was doing there. I was being completely honest, but not just in the verbals. I mean, I'm completely honest in the way I'm expressing myself. I'm in that specific state of mind. I'm in that specific mood. I'm having that like horrible emotion. And I'm expressing that. And I'm not trying to smile. And I'm not trying like to keep my chest out or my chin up. Or I'm not trying to like lean back and look cool. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let's go. You get it? And that was like a really big epiphany. And this was like so big for me, because then we immediately after that we left in Budapest. We left for Budapest to start doing the immersions there. And I started experimenting with that more and more. And I dropped that idea that I had in my mind in the past, the one that I had identified so much with, that I'm the playful, positive, whatever guy. Yeah, in the beginning of my journey when I started pickup, and I was also a bit younger, I had more energy, I had more excitement, I was more positive or playful, whatever. Now I kind of feel like that like old dude, that grandpa who like shouts at the kids in the neighborhood, like, get out of my lawn. That's kind of like how I feel like most of the time now. But it's not bad. Because I kind of like dropped that label that, oh, it's bad to feel that way. It's good to be playful and positive, and it's bad to be like grumpy and sad and pissed or whatever. And I'm experimenting more and more with that in Budapest, and there is so many more examples. Some of my best pulls was literally those nights that I completely embraced that state of mind, that grumpiness, that thing of being an asshole, and I just expressed it. And I remember this time we're coaching in the club. Everyone is in a set. Every single student, every coach is in a set. And I'm just like sitting there by myself, and I'm hating my life, and I feel super heavy because I ate so much and I just can't do shit. And there is these two cute Polish girls, and I just want to kill my time. I don't really even care at that point about like picking them up, right? So I just go in the table, I'm like, hey, I'm here to kill my time. Like literally, and that's what I feel. I don't give a shit about flirting with them. And that actually starts up a conversation. And eventually after 1 hour, a student comes in the set, I start getting a bit more deep with my girl. We actually connect them, we pull them in, and we fuck them. And that was like, starts like confirming more and more and more this experiment that I'm doing with like, experimenting with like the honesty and like trying different moods. And that was a big revelation eventually. But to understand honesty, what is it? How do you guys understand honesty? Does anybody want to give it a shot, try to give it a definition? You probably got some of it, like from the things that I said, but does anybody want to try to give it a definition? Yes?
I guess it's actually that you feel congruent with how you feel and what you say. These two are equal.
Exactly. And that's a really big thing in the community. We talk a lot about congruence, but most people don't understand what congruence is. And they think that they have to like act in a way, and then, oh, maybe eventually they will get in a nice positive state or whatever, and then they will be like congruent, right? Yeah?
If your actions and your thoughts or emotions are aligned.
Exactly. That's a really good one. When your actions and your thoughts and your emotions are all aligned. And that's like a really big problem that guys have with their congruence, right? So like, try to be congruent, try to be congruent, try to be congruent. And you hear that very often, like, how the fuck do I do it? And here you have a tool for that. It's actually more than a tool, I'm going to tell you about it. But this is pretty much the only way to achieve that congruence. And this is like the biggest problem, because women are naturally way more skilled at reading those social cues and those sub-communications. So remember, if you remember the things we said earlier about empathy and recognizing the social cues, the sub-communications, the facial expressions, women actually do that naturally way better than us. They just have the instinct. They need by nature to be able to screen very fast for a potential partner or an idiot, right? And unfortunately, this is a skill I kind of have to train. But when you're like going in interaction and you're pretending to be in another mood, you feel like shit, you feel nervous, you have that approach anxiety, you have that tension on the chest, you have that resistance. And when you go in interaction, you actually try to put on that fucking fake smile on your face, they see it. They catch it right away. And this is like the reason why most of you will get shit test. What is a shit test basically? So let me take a look at my notes. As I said, I'm very underprepared. What is a shit test? Basically, a shit test is the girl's attempt, is the thing that Lazarus said earlier, when you don't know if what is happening in her mind, so you have to like do some like little pushes or like try to see what reaction you're gonna get. This is what the girl is doing. This is what a shit test is. This is basically testing your congruence. It's basically testing to see if you are actually truly the guy that you are presenting yourself to be to her. Do you get what I mean? And by doing, I don't want to say that word, by being honest, you actually don't have to think about that anymore. You actually don't have to think, how can I be more congruent? How can I like do that shit all the time? And one of you mentioned it earlier, you don't really have to micromanage that thing. And by doing the honesty, you don't have to micromanage a lot of things. You don't have to really micromanage the calibration. You don't really have to micromanage spiking emotions. You don't really have to micromanage dealing with objections. Because a lot of those things take care of by themselves. How do you, for example, how do you spike emotions through honesty? This is something that you're going to see in the infield later. I hope I'm going to get the time to show the infield. If you're being honest, you're going to naturally spike emotions. You don't have to try to think of a way to spike emotions. You don't have to like try to remember a line that the coach said on how to spike emotions. Because, for example, a lot of guys, they go into interaction with a girl and they hear an opinion. They hear the girl saying something. And deep inside, they disagree. You might hear something that the girl says and you like really actually disagree with what the fuck she says. And then you like don't object to that because you're too afraid of like that you will get in an argument, that you will get a negative reaction from her, and that you will like not pull. And by being honest, you actually do that naturally. You might get in an argument, and according to traditional pickup, it's not the best way to go into interaction. Oh, avoid the conflict. But you will naturally spike the emotions. For example, like in the infield that you're going to see later, I'm getting in an argument with a girl, and she's telling me that she's been married for 9 years. She's 26, very young. She has 2 kids, 9 years with the same guy. And what happens is the moment she tells me that, I'm going to say it again later in the infield, I kind of like give up. I'm still in my head. It's like beginning of the night. I'm trying to be kind of nice. The moment she tells me that I have a husband, I kind of like give up trying to do actual pickups. So I'm like, oh, whatever, fuck it. I guess I'm not going to pull her. So I can now kind of like troll her and enjoy it and just like put out there whatever I have to say. So I'm like screaming at her in her face, like, you're wasting your fucking life. I'm telling you, what is that bullshit? You're wasting your life. You've been like 9 years with one guy. You wasted the best years of your life. You wasted your youngest years. And we get in a real argument, and this is actually something that spikes emotions. The girls leave, we approach them. The moment they leave, she's pissed. She's fucking pissed. She's like really fucking angry at me. And you would see that and you would think, this guy is never going to pull her. But what happens there, by being honest, by me expressing that shit, I'm actually conveying something much deeper about my personality. So the girl might have a worldview, maybe a girl that you meet in the clubs is like very feminist, right? And you're like very against that, like most of the guys in the community. And it has happened to me very often, right? And like most of the guys will be afraid to get in that like kind of like conflict or that discussion, whatever. They kind of, oh yeah, I agree with you. And then they kind of like try to skip it. But what happens is those worldviews like, oh, feminism, veganism, communism, capitalism, whatever. It's actually like bullshit beliefs that are held in your mind on a very like surface layer. It's something that you adopted later. It's something that you adopted maybe as a teenager, maybe as an adult. So it's actually, it's actually not a very deep part of your personality. But when you actually do that thing, when you're being honest, you're actually conveying things about your personality that are much deeper. You're conveying confidence. You're conveying self-esteem. You're conveying leadership skills. And those traits are the traits that are important for attraction, that go way deeper than all the isms. Do you get what I mean? So you might like be afraid to get into that conflict, but actually this is what is going to spike emotions naturally, and this is what is going to spike attraction. And that's the problem. Like, so you would much rather be completely congruent in a bad mood, in a bad state, in whatever, than having to do that shit and trying so hard, so desperately, putting all that effort into keeping up that role in that front. And that's what I was doing that night in the club, the first night I talked to you about. I was trying so hard to keep up that front, that playful front, which is so in contrast with that I'm feeling internally, that is like ridiculously obvious to everyone that will interact with me that I'm faking it. And there is a lot of instructors out there that have talked about front, about putting a front. All right, and this is what the honesty actually does. It's the best way for you, instead of like being constantly conscious of like trying to be like, oh, am I in a front, whatever. Am I being real, whatever. By doing that, by being honest, you actually can skip like thinking of that as well, because you basically drop your front completely. And ideally, this is what you want the girl to do. When you like do like some playful joke or some neg, and it kind of like gets a bit more real, gets a bit more deep, or you qualify her and it's like starts saying things about yourself, what is the girl doing? She's opening up. Right? She starts like being a bit more real. You go to the girls like from the beginning, it's like fuck off, like this. That's like it shows you the hand, turns around, and that's in a sense her front. And most of those girls, those like extremely bitchy girls, for example, are actually deep inside like real sweethearts, and that's her own front. That's kind of like her defense. And you might see it as a shit test. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is a shit test. It is her front, and then you have to find a way to show her that you are being real. And that's what happens when you're honest and you drop your own front. Usually the girl will follow. And this is what happens in interaction with people. Like, people want to be real with each other. People want to be honest. People want to express their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings. They want to express their ideas, their opinions. But they're very often afraid of judgment. Ironically, when somebody decides to do that and takes the lead and goes first, and the guy that has the balls to do that, what will happen is that people will usually follow. We have that weird perception in society that, oh, I need to show no vulnerability. I need to be the alpha male. I need to be the macho. I need to be the man. I should never cry. I should never show an emotion. I should be cool. I should be very laid back all the time. And we have the fucking stupid idea in our minds that this is what's cool. This is what's attractive. Let me tell you what, this is not what is attractive. Imagine, like, I think I'm stealing this from Julian. Probably am. But I am. Yeah, the story, right? This analogy. Imagine a society. It is kind of like our society, where everybody takes a shit. Where everybody takes a shit, but nobody wants to admit it. This is kind of like everybody's vulnerability, but everybody goes out there in the real world and they pretend that they don't take a shit. And then what happens when somebody's coming and trying to call you out on that? And be like, hey, you take a shit, stop bullshitting me. What is going to happen? It's like, oh shit, I'm busted. And then the consequences and everything that comes with that. And then imagine a guy in that society that goes out there and says, hello motherfuckers, I take a shit and I'm shameless about it. This is the natural thing to do. This is what everybody's doing, but nobody has the balls to admit. Then there is basically nothing to be called out on. If somebody tries to go up to this guy and say, hey, you take a shit, the guy is going to respond something like, are you retarded? Of course I take a shit. Like, what are you trying to call me out on? And this is exactly what the girl is doing with the shit test. So if you go up to the interaction and you get a shit test, but you don't see it as a shit test, you don't try to respond to the shit test, you just like express what you're like, what is aligned, what you're feeling is aligned with you in that moment, there is nothing by the girl to be called out on. She's basically trying to call you out on being fake. No, I'm not. Hello? There is nothing to hide. Like the thing that I said earlier, the example, when I'm telling her, hello, I don't want to kill you, I want to fuck you. Or I'm like sitting with this girl outside, I'm in a very chill mood, I'm just like leaning back. And then this girl, she's very suspicious of me. So she's trying to point out my body language, like, yeah, I see what you're doing there. It's like something with like human communications, right? And I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you think I'm trying to do. But I'm not really doing anything. I just thought you were cute, attractive, and I want to talk to you. And that's it. And she sees in the way that I say it, and she hears it in the voice tonality, that this is actually what I'm thinking. And I'm not actually trying to do the body language. I'm just in that like very chill mood, and I happen to be like very laid back. And if I don't feel in another time that I'm not in that laid back mood, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go in the interaction, and I'm like with my shrugged shoulders, with like the grumpy face. And that's what a lot of guys in the community don't understand, that it's not a specific mood or mental state that is attractive, because people have mood swings the whole time. People go up and down. People go happy. People go sad. People go excited. People go depressed. People have fluctuations in their mood. And what you have to realize that this is perfectly fine. It's not a specific state that the girl will find attractive, but that ability to show that vulnerability, that ability to be completely real and shameless and completely fine with whatever you're feeling and you're thinking. And what is the right way to do this honesty thing? And I'm saying, and you gotta clarify that the honesty thing is not really a thing. It's not a technique. It's not something that you switch on and off. Oh, I go to the club, I go to Volksgarten, and now I'm gonna like switch my honesty skill on, and I'm gonna get all the positive reactions. No, motherfuckers, this is gonna be a long, hard way out of hell. The honesty is not a technique. The honesty is a way of being. And if you try the honesty as a technique, if you go to the club and be like, oh, Chris said be honest, and then you try to do that to get a positive reaction, you're not gonna get a positive reaction. You're gonna get fucked in the ass, right? So you gotta, it's something that you gotta like really accept, that it's not necessarily gonna give you the positive reaction. But it's the right way to do it, because this acts as a tool for you to start coming in terms more with yourselves. And this is what happened with the student. We have this virgin student on program, like right before he came to Vienna. And in the first days, he doesn't get it. He just tries to do the honesty as a technique. And I mean, he's not doing bad, but he doesn't completely get what the honesty means. He thinks that it's some sort of technique that you switch on and off in the club. He pulls 2 times, and the second time, he actually took the girl from me. It was a girl that I wanted to pull. He actually took the girl from me. And he tells us, he goes home with her, tells us the story next morning. It's fucking ridiculous. He's there with her on the bed. The girl is in her underwear, like with the legs open, ready to get fucked. And then he's just like, I don't know what to do. So he freaks the fuck out. He creeps the girl out as well. And eventually the girl like stands up and leaves. And then that was like his moment of click, where he like was so close and he fucked it up. He finally clicked in his mind what the fucking honesty means, right? It's a way of being. It's something that you have to incorporate in your life. Yes?
Yeah, so if you're like in the club with a woman, and the girls like ask you how you 2 guys know each other, then you just say like, yeah, we didn't know each other, we have nothing in common, but we both sat with girls and we're just here to pick up girls together.
That's not a bad one. I like it. I kind of like it.
It's actually not bad.
But it's not necessarily about the words. I mean, you don't go to a dinner with your family and your mom is like, ah, what did you do yesterday? Yeah, I banged some hoes. You don't really say that way. You're going to say, I had a really good time. I had a fucking good time, right?
But now you see it arises the question how I calibrate over my honesty and I don't compromise my honesty. You see what you actually ask? How can I say something so stupid even if it's honest?
Yeah, this comes to the calibration part that we talked about earlier. And now it's your choice. Do you wanna like put in that effort and do the calibration, or do you wanna be like super brutally douchey, honest, like me pretty much, and kind of like not care about the empathy part? It depends. On some days I calibrate a lot, on some days I just don't feel like putting in the effort, and I'm just putting out there whatever is in my mind. And surprisingly it works. But I'm not doing it because I want an outcome. If you go to the club and you have still the slightest need inside you for it to work, it's not going to work. Because the honesty goes on layers. And you have to, like, there is different layers. There is honesty, like, in the layer of, like, the environment. So you can go to the girl, and maybe your awareness is not that good. So you just, like, talk about the environment, whatever comes in your head about the environment. Then a lot of guys go to a level deeper. They start kind of, like, talking about what they think about the girl. That virgin guy in the program, he tells the girls, like, your eyebrows look like you tattooed them on your face. I'm like, dude, fuck off, don't say that shit. And then comes the third layer, the deepest one, and that's where you eventually want to get your honesty out, which is internal, which is like, it has to do with yourself. So instead of like focusing on the environment and that much on the girl, you're going internally and you're focusing on what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So this is an exercise that we give to the students. We tell them when you're in the club and you're kind of like foggy in the mind, you don't really know what's happening, you have to identify what it is that you feel and what you think. Because if you want to be honest, the first step, of course, before you say something, before you express something, is to know what the fuck is going on through your mind, what the fuck you're feeling. So you need that awareness. You need first to identify what the fuck is going on through your mind. So we tell the students, If you find yourself in a hard situation where you're stressed and tensed and it just looks like it doesn't work, take a deep breath, close your eyes, kind of like ignore the distractions of the club, and ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself inside your head and focus, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? And that's how you identify your state. So you're doing that like, okay, and you ask inside your head, what am I thinking? Okay, I'm feeling like, what am I thinking, what am I feeling? I'm super stressed. I think this girl is like completely out of my league. I feel like I'm going to get rejected and shit. And the mistake that a lot of guys do is they will try to suppress that. They will try to hide that emotion. They will put on that fake smile and go up to the interaction and try to pretend they're like super confident, right? So when you find yourself in that situation, you ask yourself what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You identify basically your mental state, because it's a problem that a lot of guys have. They have no awareness. They're so stuck in their head trying to figure out what to say, remembering some line or some shit from a video, that they don't even know what the fuck they're thinking and what they're feeling. So that's the first step, which is really important, to identify what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And then whatever that mood is, you gotta realize that there is no bad emotion, there is no bad mood. You can be grumpy, you can be sad, you can be depressed. You might you might have like murderous thoughts in your fucking mind, right? You gotta realize that it's perfectly normal. Like all of us have like fucked up thoughts. Like there is not a single one here that doesn't have like a little fucked up thought every now and then. Yeah, I can see it on your face. Like that sneaky smile over there. And you gotta realize that everyone has them, and it's completely fine. Whatever feeling you're feeling, whatever state you're in, whatever fucked up thought you have, it's perfectly fine to have it. So the second step is like first of all, you have the awareness, actually identifying what the fuck is going on through your mind. The second step is to accept that shit as normal, as if it's normal and fine, as if it's like completely okay, and then express it. And that's the third step. That's the really important one, to express it. To go up in the interaction and not smile if you're sad. And not like say some gamey shit. You can like go on, we have this student on program who's like ridiculously grumpy. He's pretty arrogant. He actually doesn't care that much about the girls. He's just like a fucking douche, right? And he doesn't even want to put the slightest bit of effort. So he starts doing those 3 steps, and he's like, yeah, I feel like I don't want to do shit, I just want to get laid, right? So he goes up to the girls, and the only thing he does, like he taps them on the shoulder, he's like, my name. And then he doesn't want to put any effort, and he expresses that. He doesn't do shit. He just like sits there and looks at them. And it's so unbelievably insane how many positive reactions this guy got, and how many times he pulled on program. The program is 15 days, I think he pulled like 12 times. Just by doing that, and like the girls are like instantly all over him, because he's like expressing whatever he's feeling, which is like he's feeling nothing. He doesn't want to put any effort, he doesn't feel like happy, he's just a grumpy asshole that wants to get laid and doesn't want to do shit, and he goes and he does exactly that. Hey, my name is this.
You don't always have to describe what you feel like.
Yeah, you don't always have to.
Like do it.
Yeah, don't get stuck on the verbals. Again, the communication is a spectrum. So when I'm saying be honest, I'm saying express it with everything you have. Express it with your body language, which means don't actually try to change your body language. Whatever your body language is, going with that. Whatever your intentions are, going with those intentions. You get it? Sometimes I'm feeling like I'm very horny some days in the club, and I'm feeling like super like aroused and shit, and I will go to girls and I will say, I want to fuck the shit out of you. And you have no idea how many times it works.
You don't know how many times he's doing it.
It works. But the problem is that I saw that it started working really well. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, maybe if I say it now, it's going to work again. And then I started doing it on some nights that I didn't feel it. It's some nights that I'm like, oh, whatever. And then I'm still going and saying that shit. Because I got that misconception in my brain that, oh, it's the words that do the work. It's the words that are going to like make me pull. So I went out in nights that I felt off, and I said that shit, and it was just a disaster. And then that acts as a reminder to me that this is something that I only do when I feel like doing that shit. And I'm not saying, oh, go out to the girl and say I want to fuck you because Chris Wilde said it, right? This is like kind of like your own journey of like exploring yourself and finding like coming in touch with like those internal thoughts and emotions. And this connects really to the thing that we said earlier about conscious and subconscious mind. Your subconscious already knows what's up, already knows what it has to do, and it already tries to communicate with you and give you the answer. Can somebody like understand what I'm talking about here? This gut feeling, this instinct, this urge. So a good example is that you're like face to face with a girl, and you get that like little voice in your head, like kiss her, you know? It's like, I want to fucking kiss her. And then like the next second, your logical brain goes in and is like, oh fuck, maybe it's not the right moment, wait. Did anybody have that? The first one is your subconscious, that instinct, that gut that knows exactly what has to be done and when. The part of your brain that wants to express yourself. And then because you don't feel like you're good enough to do it, because you don't feel like you have enough knowledge to do it, because you don't feel like you're following the script that the coach gave you right, you jump in with your logical mind and you completely ignore that amazing judgment that the subconscious is trying to give you. And this is what we're trying to do with the honesty. The honesty is a way for you to start slowly and gradually training your brain to shut down this logical part and bring you more in touch with your subconscious. Because this is what you're doing. Instead of like waiting for the subconscious to give you the answer, which you might miss because you're stuck in your head, now you're asking yourself, what am I thinking, what am I feeling? If you focus for a few seconds inside your head, your subconscious is going to give you the answer. Your subconscious is going to tell you, I'm feeling this, I'm thinking this. It's out of my league, I'm stressed, I have approach anxiety, I feel like shit, I feel like that, I feel like whatever. Subconscious is going to give you the answer. And that's how you will like slowly start like gradually building that bridge between your logical mind and your subconscious.
A big blockage that you will have is you'll have a tendency not to trust the subconscious. You will have the tendency all the time. You
already have that tendency to not trust the subconscious, because this is the mistake that the pickup community and traditional pickup has done to you. This is the disaster. That they give you so much shit, and you have one coach that says one thing, another coach says another thing, but you don't know what case you apply to. And you don't have the emotional understanding and the experience of the coach to actually be able to reproduce that. So as I said before in the previous part of the speech, the coach gives a statement of empathy, but he actually feels what the girl is feeling, and that's why he's giving it. But then you see it on the video, you don't understand the mechanics behind it, you don't understand why he's doing it or how he's doing it. Sometimes, like in the beginning of my journey, I would like look at the infield of like the famous coach, like, how the fuck does he know that he has to do that? How the fuck does he know that he has to do that? And now I actually see it myself. And that's why you have to realize that you can't like try to replicate those lines or that shit that you see on the videos or those behaviors. And we have like a lot of students that come to the program and they're completely pick-up dumbass. They have that like gamey front and it's all bullshit. Do some self-deprecation. Self-deprecation is good, but not as a technique. It's good only if you actually find funny the shit that you're saying about yourself, about your insecurities, right? Or they're trying to say like, oh my God, that guy, right? He just like, the only thing he did the first day of the program and the second day of the program was just asking for directions. And I'm like, dude, wait a minute. When you go to interaction with a girl, do you actually want to ask her for directions? He's like, no. I'm like, then why the fuck do you ask for directions? Do you get it? And we have another guy who's like, he was also a big bullshitter. Really pick up damas, really like big gamey front. He goes to a girl and he's like, oh, like, you're like so, you have like real nice legs. Like, are you a model or something? It went well for a while. Eventually, he fucked it up because he was bullshitting too much. He comes back to me. I'm like, what did you say? Oh, I said this. I'm like, did you actually believe she was a model? He's like, no. Like, why the fuck did you say that?
There is also like another branch of it. Like, I was like coaching a guy in Berlin, and he was like, okay, we are in a supermarket. He had huge resistance, a big part to realize your resistance. And we're like looking for a nail cutter. And I want to make him like, I look for a nail cutter, at the same time I want to make him approach. And I open set to show him this concept, and then I make him approach. And then he approaches the girl and asks her directions for the nail cutter, as Chris said. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, yeah, it's congruent. We are looking for a nail cutter. It is honest, we are looking for a nail cutter, but this is the point to realize there are different layers of honesty. Like, yeah, you might be...
said before about environment towards the girl and internal.
Yeah, it's
ideally, the internal is what you want to reach.
It's like, it's not enough to just say something that it's a true fact. You are honest with what you know it's true, but you have to be honest also what you actually enjoy to be.
The honesty is directed towards emotions, on the second layer towards the girl's emotions, and the deeper one, your emotions. So the level of awareness that you eventually want to get to, being able to identify your own emotions, being okay with them, being at ease, whatever fucked up emotions or thoughts you have, and then being okay with expressing them. Can you give me some water? in the toilet. And In the toilet. And there is actually a deeper purpose in the honesty, right? There is a very deep purpose on that, and it's not like, it's not a moral thing. It's not like, oh, go and be honest with the girl because it's the right thing to do and not hide your intentions, right? It's not a moral thing. If you remember a bit from like Martin's speech in the beginning, he talked about that skewed perception that you have about yourself from the past. So people go through childhood trauma, people go through fucked up events, people go through like a lot of shit as children and teenagers. And that kind of fucks up their beliefs about themselves. Their self-esteem, basically. This is what self-esteem. The self-esteem is the sum of the beliefs that you have about yourself, right? Either they're negative or positive or whatever. And this is a really huge topic by itself, self-esteem and how to work on that. And for us, this is the #1 thing that we work on. So the prime is like working on like raising your self-esteem. But I'm not gonna like go deep into that. There is like a video on YouTube. But my previous speech in Vienna was about that too. But basically, the main goal that you have in your journey is to raise your self-esteem, because your self-esteem acts as a bottleneck of how much you can put out there in the real world. If you don't have that belief in yourself that you're good enough for whatever you're doing, you're gonna always cling on pickup, on a structure, on like this thing, trying to plan ahead, trying to say the right thing, because you're always gonna have that fear that whatever like I naturally wanna do is not enough, right? Actually, it's quite the opposite. Like through our research, through our personal experiences, through the results that we see in the students, we've concluded to the fact, and I'm saying fact on purpose, I picked the word fact, that pretty much everyone was born a natural. Everyone as a kid is a natural. Like kids have like the typical characteristics of a natural. Very unfiltered, very like happy, very present, they don't give a shit, like the first act, and then they think of the consequences. And what happens is most of us experience like some traumatic events, right? So from the moment that starts happening, even from a very young age, some people like this starts when they're 3, when they're 4. You kind of like start accumulating this weight on your back, right? This fucking weight on your back. And every time you will go through a similar experience, or maybe you were bullied at school, maybe you didn't have a good relationship with your parents, maybe you got rejected by your first crush or some shit. Every time you go through a similar scenario, that perception, those feelings, those emotions, that trauma basically is gonna kick in. And every time this happens, that weight on your back just accumulates more and more and more. So you end up going into adulthood, and now all this weight on your back is there, but it's still there, you're still feeling it, you're still having it every day in every interaction, but you've actually forgotten that it's there, and you've forgotten where it started. So you end up identifying with it. So you think that all this bullshit, this perception that I'm not good enough, or this is out of my league, or that I'm going to get rejected, you actually start identifying and believing that this is you. Now the best way to resolve that, I can't really go deep into the mechanics, the best way to resolve that and start getting rid of that weight is actually start coming in terms of that. Like, you've probably heard that cliche a lot of times in movies and I don't know what, or you've heard about like self-acceptance. This is what it comes down to, like stop seeing that past as if it's your enemy. So like stop seeing that past as if it's something bad. Stop seeing your trauma, your bad experiences, the bullying, the bad relationship you had with your parents or whatever. Stop seeing it as if it's something bad, right? So it's like you have that weight, or maybe you want to call it the little ugly cousin, right? And you hold him by the hand, and before you go to an interaction, and you think that your little retarded ugly cousin is going to fuck up your interaction, right? And you have that fear of going in with him in the interaction. You just don't want to accept that you have him there with you. And then when you actually like are okay with it and like, oh, whatever, fuck it, I'll do it, and you go in the interaction with him, you actually find out that he's a pretty good wing, and he's helping you out. By accepting his presence, by accepting that thing that he's not my enemy, he's not trying from a bad, it just is there, it's not bad, and the only way for me to deal with it is to accept it, and this is what the honesty does. By you becoming aware of those emotions, of those thoughts, embracing them and expressing them, you're actually giving your mind proof that nothing bad happens. And that was one of the big realizations that this virgin had in the program. It's like, oh, basically it's like some sort of psychotherapy that I do in the club on myself. So I go there and express my insecurities, my fears, And then I see that nothing bad happens and nobody gives a shit. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. You know? So slowly you have like that fear, oh, if I express my security, if I express my fear, if I express my tension, my resistance, my anxiety, the girl is not going to like me. Ironically, paradoxically, and I know that it sounds very strange, when you actually apply that and you do it, you're going to see that the girls are going to love it. But you have to do it right, not just like use it as a technique or like reach a very surface layer. You have to do the honesty right. Your emotions, your feelings, express it with your body, with your tonality, with your words, with everything. Do you get it? You're going to see that actually nobody gives a fucking shit. We have this student on program, and he's like, first night, he's completely crushed. He was doing really well in the beginning, and now he's completely crushed. And he just like sits in the chair in the club, and he's like so much in his head, and I'm like, dude, I know it's hard. I know that you have like so much going on through your mind. Just for now, just for tonight, just tell yourself, fuck it, just for a couple of minutes, and go and do it. And he goes up to a girl, who's like super like depressed, like this. First girl like he sees, it's like, hey, I really feel like fucking shit tonight. And what happens, like he doesn't really say much. He just says kind of like something like this. What happens is instantly, like within 10 seconds, the girl just like jumps on him and like really tries to cheer him up. She really starts investing. So this is another like area that you don't need to micromanage anymore. Investment, for example, is going to start happening naturally. That's just a little parenthesis. And the girl starts like really trying to cheer him up. And within 2 minutes, he's out of it. He's like out of that like bad mood. He's like super on. In the dance floor, dancing like crazy with a girl, having a good time. And this is like a really good thing, a really good analogy that I want you to hear about. I want you to imagine your emotions as waves. You are in the sea. You as a person, imagine yourself in the sea, in the ocean, right? And then waves are coming. Fucking big ass fucking waves are coming. And those waves are your emotions. Now, what will happen if you try to resist the wave is you're probably going to drown. It's not going to work. You're not going to do anything. Like your goal is to get out on the beach, but by resisting the waves, you're going to drown in the waves. The only way to do it is to actually ride the wave, is to actually accept its course, accept the direction, and surf it. And then the sooner you do that, the sooner you accept that thing and you ride the wave and you surf on the wave, the sooner it's going to take you out on the beach, which is a calm, nice place. And that's, because I said it earlier, that's the best way to get in state fast. This is the thing with emotions. If an emotion is coming, there's absolutely no fucking way you can change it or steer it. If you can try, but it's not going to work. Because you're basically, what you're doing is you're suppressing it. And the more you suppress an emotion or a bad mood, a bad mental state, it just piles up. The more you suppress it, the more it piles up, the more it piles up, the more it piles up. And eventually it reaches this threshold, it reaches this limit, and then it explodes on your fucking face. And that's when people... Fuck.
The problem...
wait. That's when people have dry spells. That's when people get depressed. That's when people have like bad nights. That's when people have state crashes. So you get into state, and you finally realize you're in a good state, and you're like, fuck, I have to do my best to stay in this state. I have to try to get more makeups. I have to try to do more crazy shit. And that state, that good emotional state, is a wave as well. So if the wave is coming and you're like on that state and you like try to stay on the same point, the wave is going to go past you. So the best way to maximize your state and stay in state for the longest period of time is to kind of like be okay and be at ease with whatever is coming and tell yourself, oh, I don't need to necessarily be in that state. I'm just going to roll with it. And whatever state is coming after that, even if it's bad, I'm also going to roll with it. And it's going to be perfectly fine. Do you get the analogy with the waves and how it works? And that's the thing with the expressing and using the honesty. By doing that, you're following the wave, you're riding the wave. And the sooner you do that, the sooner that bad mental state is going to go away, and then you're actually going to start being positive. And then you start going to be expressive, and then you're going to get in flow. And suddenly, you don't even have to think about that anymore. You don't even have to think about what you're feeling. You don't have to think about what you're thinking. You don't have to try to embrace. You don't have to try to express, because you're in that point where it happens naturally. You wanted to add something?
The problem with this, and where you find the most blockers from yourself, is that you will actually believe that the wave, the metaphor, will get you to a place you don't want to go, or it will get you drowned. It's all these things that we said before, that you have to learn to let to trust that it's going to go well. To trust that your subconscious will take care of some things. So when you are in a certain emotion, as Chris described it, you have to trust that it's gonna go to a next emotion, and you're gonna like go with it fine, and you're gonna like actually handle it, not only just go with it. He got a little bit back for the self-esteem. Like, actually, the reason why he got back, and he said some stuff about how you identify yourself and your issues. And it was about self-esteem, I think, and it has to do a lot with how to learn to trust your subconscious tendencies.
Yeah, this is where it comes down to. This is what it boils down to. Remember the thing we were saying about the subconscious, right? It already knows. So you gotta like start getting in touch with it and actually allow it to give you that intuition and that guidance. And this is what you're doing with the honesty. In the beginning, you're gonna be expressing fears, insecurities, anxiety, and all that kind of shit. And it's gonna suck, right? It's gonna fucking suck. It's not gonna be easy, but you have to do it. And then the more you do that, eventually your brain is gonna start getting proof that nothing bad is happening. And then you're gonna find, you're gonna slowly start finding that with every night in the club, you feel less and less pressure, you feel less and less anxiety. And you don't need to express your insecurities for like half an hour anymore. It takes only 5 minutes. It takes 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then the next week it's actually less. And then you start like going to the club and you're feeling completely at ease. You feel like it's like your normal environment. And then it actually, one second, it actually starts like going to the other way, and you actually start feeling better and better. Do you get what I mean? And this is the way to permanently get rid of that bad state, permanently get rid of that bad self-esteem, of that scarcity paradigm, of all those insecurities and those deep issues of the past. Yes?
When you say right wave, I think it's exactly that you stay in your comfort zone, yeah? So you don't go out of your comfort zone. And I think the best way to come in state is going out of your comfort zone, doing something crazy shitty that you never do, so that then talking to a nice girl is quite easier than the crazy shit you've done of going out of your comfort zone.
I don't really use the term comfort zone. I really never use, very rarely maybe. In terms of comfort zone, this is the thing. Like you usually are in that like bad mental state, and your comfort zone is like to not express it because you're afraid of what's going to happen. This thing that you're saying, pushing your comfort zone and actually expressing it, is is the medium to give yourself proof that nothing bad is going to happen. And the more you do it, the more your brain comes in like acceptance with that. Oh, actually nothing is happening. Nothing bad is happening. It's actually the opposite. Actually good shit is happening.
Can I give an answer to that? It's actually a little bit of how you define comfort zone, but with the definition we probably have in mind. The thing is like why you're doing it, to get from the state you are before, let's generalize state, emotional state, and you want the state that we mean it's good for game as an emotional state that supports game, okay? So you are in an emotional state that doesn't support game before, an emotional state that you are in your mind, etc., etc. And you use pushing your comfort zone, those like, because what happens, the memory is state dependent, and the focus is state dependent, which means that when you are in this particular state that doesn't support game, you notice all the stuff that wants you to stay out of expression. And then what you're doing when you push your comfort zone, you're actually making a step out of this by forcing yourself transition to another state. What Chris is saying is not like, he says there is another way, which is not forcing yourself out of it, but letting it naturally get you out of it. You see, then the traditional way of doing stuff is this pickup stuff is forcing yourself, and we don't tell you chill and just go there in the warm corner. We just tell you like another emotion will come, and you can go there without that much force. You can actually, as soon as your mind has it as a purpose, believe me, it will go there. Subconsciously, you will get yourself there. That's how the system is made to work. It's not made to like keep you like. I know what the traditional way of thinking is, but it's not made to like keep you in a place of that you don't want to be. It's only because your focus is scattered, your purpose is scattered. If your purpose is clear, then naturally you go there. Does it make sense to you, or you relate or not? Have you ever experienced it actually?
Yes.
Yeah.
My experience was when I was really forced to do crazy shit. Yeah. That was when I came in state. Not by accepting some feelings.
Okay, so you have used only the way of like forcing yourself. Tell me something, because it might be a misconception. When you force yourself, do you force yourself negatively? Like, I have to do it
Forced to do it, yeah.
negatively.
I was forced by women, and then of course I felt much resistance.
Did you ever force yourself positively? Like, oh, let's excitement, just force it and do it without feeling it, by excitement.
Not with women.
Not with women. Okay. Try sort of accepting it, but look, it's not gonna come easy, because the problem we said before, a big problem is that you don't trust that it's gonna work if you let it go. And
the thing that you don't trust that it's gonna work.
It's what
that's
blocks.
another layer of awareness that you have to express. Otherwise, not real honesty.
Also, yeah, you approach it like this. But that's the thing that you don't trust that it's gonna work. It's what holds you to using the second method, accepting and go, because it's a method based on your self-esteem. Self-esteem, confidence. You believe that you survive anyways, whatever comes. This is what it means. And if you let yourself go to the next wave, it's exactly like this. You believe. You have to believe. You have to trust that yourself will get you to the next wave. It seems a little bit wishy-washy because you have actually practically seen work the first one, but it works to another dimension, like way bigger.
Malaga.
See?
Halas. And again, it comes down, I'm gonna like repeat one more time that you don't need to micromanage anything anymore. So you don't have to you don't have to try to plan ahead the interaction. You don't have to try to plan ahead the pull. You don't have to try to push and pull. You don't have to spike emotions. You don't have to try to pass the shit test. Do you get it? You don't have to do any of that thing anymore. There is only one focus, only one purpose, and that's like to keep that honesty going and not fall out of it and not fall back into your gamey bullshit front. So everything just suddenly becomes so much more simple. And of course, it's gonna be hard in the beginning. It's like, as I said before, it's like riding a bike. In the beginning, it's hard like to keep the balance. But then after a while, it becomes like so much more easier, and then it feels like almost natural. Riding a bike feels almost like walking after a while. And this is what happens there. You don't have to micromanage, you don't have to think, you don't have to keep track, you don't have to do any of that shit, you don't have to put any mental effort. And then you're gonna find yourself like getting in state much faster, having that state like last much longer. You're gonna find that you actually don't, and that's the really nice part, that you don't need the thing that we call state in the community to actually game. Some of my best, most meaningful, most enjoyable pulls in Budapest were on my shittiest nights. When I had the worst fucking mood, those were my best pulls. When I like, kind of like internally gave up that like thing trying to game and trying to pull and trying to do some shit. And then kind of like magically, it's not really magical, it's that my subconscious did all the work. I find an amazing girl to connect with. And I can be like real and deep and honest. Do you get what I mean? And then again, you don't have to deal with other issues like LMR. The thing that I said earlier about objections and concerns. We have to really, really differentiate between an objection and concern. The girl will give you also an objection if she feels like she doesn't trust you, instead of like her being like real and telling you her real concern. And of course, that doesn't guarantee you that people will almost always open up from the very first second and like be super brutally honest. People have their own conditioning. People have their own fronts. It's not that easy. But by you dropping your front first and you taking the first step and taking the lead, you're gonna actually help them take off their ego, their front, and being more real and more authentic with you, and then you will have a better chance of actually like getting to the real concern and not the objection. Do you get it? And that's also a thing that like honesty takes care of. If the girl feels that you are being fake or you're being incongruent or that something is off with you, that's why she's not gonna be able to trust you to tell you the concern, and that's why she's also not gonna trust you to come home with you. And that's why you're gonna later get LMR. But when you're like very honest with your intentions and your feelings and your emotions and expressing everything from the beginning very clearly, what is it that's not going to trust you on? What is it that she can't trust you on anymore? It's the thing that we said earlier. All my fucking cards are on the table. I got nothing to hide. Like, I don't want to kill you. I want to fuck you. Or like, you know, I understand totally if you're feeling judged, but I don't judge you. Do you get it? This is how you like actually deal with that shit. And that thing, doing the honesty more and more, eventually is going to bring more awareness, because since you won't have to micromanage and think of all the bullshit in your head, you're going to be able to be more focused in what's actually happening in the interaction, what do you have in front of you, what expression the girl is giving you, what emotion she's expressing, and actually get that deeper empathy that Lazarus was talking about earlier. I don't know, is there anything else that we should add to the point? Is there any question about that?
Yeah.
You have a question?
No, I disagree.
Is anything unclear about it, or maybe like, oh, but how does this work? But then if this, then what? Is there, yes?
Can you recommend a book about this whole topic?
I mean, apparently there is the book called Radical Honesty, but I've never read it. I've never read the book. These are my personal, yes?
Models by Mark Manson is really like dives into this concept.
It's not that deep.
I don't remember it. It was so long ago since I read Models, I don't remember shit.
Yeah, it's good.
I honestly don't remember shit. Maybe it is. Maybe it ties down to that.
It's like just a surface of this.
The models?
Yeah, models. It's just a surface.
I can have that feeling. This is very deep. This is not a technique. This is a way of living, and it's what actually is going to take care of like the deepest of the deepest shit. This is what is going to, in a sense, sounds harsh, but force you to become friends with that like fucked up past insecurities, whatever the fuck it is, until they completely disappear.
Exactly, that thing it's very important. One second, because what it says, what it said, it forces you to do it as a framework. It forces you to go to a place where you will start to learn how to trust yourself, letting go, and then you start dealing with the core.
It's something that makes you. You will have to face the demons of your past. You will have to face your like fucked up thoughts and insecurities. And it's scary in the beginning, but it's like you're gonna very soon realize that it actually is what takes that shit away forever.
That's why I said it's more quality work than just forcing, because it's like it gets you to the point that it will be long run and it will be what? That it will be long run and it will be more quality results out of it. Like for example, I will give a quick example of something similar. People can get results really easily by following like sort of mindsets and concepts like narcissism concepts. Like you can get to yourself some good momentarily self-esteem by just realizing that the girl you have in front of you has maybe not that much of you know, I don't know, like stuff done in her life. Like she doesn't have a good career, or she's not educated, or she's not old, whatever. Yeah, whether she's like a McDonald's waitress, whatever you can give to yourself that it makes you feel better. But this is a very wrong way to go, because this way you just reinforcing yourself this sort of competitive frame with other people. You see how this model is worse than just empathizing with a person and go all the way through this.
And also with the honesty, you kind of like achieve, in a sense, indirectly screening. Because you're going to go out there, you're going to be brutally honest, and the girls that are not the thing that like aligns to you at this moment, they're just going to like naturally be filtered out. And that's like the thing, like I'm in the club, and in Barcelona, and I'm coaching, and it's like, I mean, the girls are ridiculously annoying, they don't speak English, and I'm in the smoking area, I'm coaching, and they just like constantly come up to me asking me for a cigarette. Because I'm smoking in the smoking area, like they constantly come up to me like asking me for a cigarette every 2 minutes. And I'm like a girl like taps me on the shoulder, before she opens her mouth, I know that she wants a cigarette, I'm like, fuck off. Fuck off. No, fuck off. No, fuck off. And then eventually it was like a girl that actually like didn't give a shit about my reaction, and she stayed there and she actually tried to talk. And then I was like, oh fuck, that's actually an interesting girl. It's a girl that can handle my bullshit. And that's like the thing with the shit test. When you're like being like honest, the girl is gonna see that. Oh, he doesn't give a shit. He's like just being himself, and he doesn't give a shit about my reaction or my test, in a sense. You get it? So that's how with the honesty you actually get the girls that you're gonna get the most meaningful and most enjoyable interactions with, and the girls that eventually you wanna get in relationships. Not necessarily like traditional relationships, monogamous or whatever. I had to say that. But this is the girls that you want to keep around in your life, and the best way to find them is by being honest, because then you're gonna have like straight away from the beginning that like natural screening and filtering out, and only like the best of the best will like get past that. You get it? And that kind of like works on the other way for the girls. Only like the guy who is being like super authentic and super real and he doesn't give a shit is gonna like go past through all the seals and eventually get to be with her. It goes both ways. Again, empathy. Yes?
Yeah, like you say, like when the girl gives you shit and she sees you don't give a fuck, then that's like attractive and being authentic. But in a case like if you're not in that level yet, like you do give a fuck, you know, like she gives you a little shit and she likes not destroys your emotion, like puts you down your emotions, do you still like express
You express it.
Oh really?
Yes.
Does it really work?
It doesn't really work. Is that your concern if it works? This is a thing that you have to accept if you're actually gonna like do this the right way. You have to stop caring about if it works. Like I said it before, if you care even like the slightest bit, you know, that if it will work or not, it's not gonna work. It's something that you go to the club with no expectations. It's something that you do for the sake of doing it. You are that way, you're gonna be that way for the sake of being.
We don't want you to like
This is not result oriented.
No,
This is oriented towards yourself and towards the process. This doesn't have to do with the girls. I know it sounds harsh. I know you're not used to it. I know it's like in the community we give like a big importance to the lay count and all that kind of shit. And it might like sound like counterproductive, but if it's actually gonna like work, you're actually gonna get more laid out of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. To clear things out, the method is result oriented. What you have to do is not be yourself result oriented. The method puts you in a position to not focus on the result yourself. We designed it in a way that it is result oriented. We saw it happening.
This is what we teach in the program. This is what people are paying for.
I really like the concept. I'm like afraid of crossing some social line about it, you know?
Fuck the lines.
Like, yeah, because like
Fuck the social lines.
correctness or something, you know?
Yeah, but that's why I
don't care.
said
I
there is
don't
no
care to talk
social
about-
lines. There is no social lines. The calibration is on a personal level.
If you want to make it a bit easier for yourself, you have like two ways. You have the self-deprecation. Like you see people like coaches doing self-deprecation like for so long ago. This is exactly what they're doing. You see like Max like talking about his patchy beard. This is actually an insecurity and he's like verbalizing it, he's expressing it, but he takes the pressure off himself by doing it in a funny way. You can add some humor to take the pressure off yourself, or you can add a statement of empathy, but it's not for the girl. The statement of empathy is for yourself. So you can say something, I know that it will sound weird, or I know that this is not the best thing to say, but you know, fuck that. Do you get it? The statement of empathy is not for the girl. It's to make yourself take a bit of the pressure off yourself. Do you understand what I mean?
No.
All right, what is it that you don't understand?
The last statement of empathy.
Before you say the fucked up thing that you're going to say,
Yeah.
you can add a little statement of empathy.
Yeah,
Like, I know that this is going to sound weird.
down, yeah.
I know that this might be strange. I know this is out of the blue. But the statement of empathy is not to take the pressure off the girl. It's actually to take the pressure off yourself.
This is a bit
By acknowledging that I know it's fucked up, but I have to say it.
This is a bit based on another concept that it's a little bit like I will not expand it, but it is the concept that it's about selling to yourself instead of selling to the others. You see, it's based on like affecting your emotions so that yourself can affect the others' emotions instead of going and try like to make impressions and shit. So the thing that
Can you bring me some more water?
hello,
Please. Please, I need it. So it's suddenly like the whole thing just becomes like ridiculously easier. You don't have to like try to steer the interaction. You don't have to think about like so many things. There's only one thing that you have to keep track of, and that's your own emotions, feelings, and actually expressing them. Now you don't need to care about anything else. Do you see how suddenly it becomes so much easier? Like the concept of game, and that's kind of like the unified model that we're talking about. You don't have like 10 different little models that you're kind of like trying to somehow piece together. You have one. So you don't have to think of like 10 different things when you're in interaction. You have to think of only one. And it's a pretty easy one, simple to understand, kind of hard to apply, but it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning that is hard to apply.